All right, I think we're live. Yep, here we go. Okay, hey, this is good stuff. Good fun, folks. All right, while I'm at it, I'm going to put some chairs out for you. So here we are inside. Here's one little chair for you, and yeah, a bigger chair for two more to curl up in. Someone likes a rock. I got a rocking chair in the middle. Now look up. Way up. I'll call Rusty. Rusty. All right, here we are. Hi, folks. All right, so we've got our page from yesterday. This was a fun one to do. Today's a special day. Why is it a special day, Chris? Boy, am I glad you asked. I've got 100 people subscribed to my YouTube channel. And while that might not be a lot for some people, I really appreciate that. So, got all these websites or YouTube sites out there that have thousands and thousands of people. That's cool. That's awesome. But I got 100, and I like them. So I think it's kind of fun. So in honor of that, and the fact that we're almost at our 50th stream of everybody that wants to listen to my podcast, everyone does. I thought we'd do something fun today. We're going to paint. Today's one-page comic is going to be done by painting. This is why the camera angle is so ridiculous, because it's hard to get my 6'6" butt into the camera lens. So the camera's tilted, like just jacked right up, facing almost at the ceiling. Yep. Story of my life. You should see my ID photos. They all look like I'm a hoodlum because all the camera angles are like shot upwards, and it's just a huge neck. It's good stuff. All right. So today's page which was yesterday's page, remarriage and dishes. And this comes from watching television with my wife and end of a stressful day, and we're reading the names on shows, trying to figure out what a new show would be for us to watch, and this show comes up called Remarriage and Desires, and we're like, we're not going to watch that. But that's not what the funny part is. The funny part is we both read it as Remarriage and Dishes, which has nothing to do with that show. Point is, it's nice to be in a place where I have somebody with me that gets me for the silliness that I am. So anyways, okay, so this is our page yesterday, and the page the day before that was If Wishes Were Horses. Woo woo! So I've had a pretty successful, enjoyable week of getting stuff done. So we're going to keep on that track. The suggestion from yesterday is orange, like a fake tan in a bottle, which is a little random. But so is remarriage and dishes. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you get these suggestions that are really abstract, and that's kind of nice because that leaves it open for you. So, and I like that. There's a big thumb up at the camera. I like that. So, I got some paper, little rips, scripts and scrabs and scribbles of paper. So I've primed this board. It's just a little framed piece of canvas board, or stretch piece of canvas board, however you want to call that. And so I've got some primer on it now, or some gesso. Got to be specific for some folks there. So I'm just going to play around for a minute here and throw some pieces of paper in here into the mix. I like, even when I'm doing a painting, I like to mess with the surface, and just, there's no real reason why I do this in some fantastic, pretentious art sense. It's I don't know, when you get into a rhythm and you find stuff that really does work for you creatively, do your thing. So that's what I'm doing. So arbitrarily sticking pieces of paper down is my jimmy jam. Now, something fun about craft paper, right? So what unfortunately the camera is never going to pick up, even if I had one of these fancy high detail cameras. There's this awesome thing about craft paper is that it buckles like immediately. So as soon as you start putting it down, you start getting ridges, air bubbles in it. If you don't like that, you're out of luck. It's going to happen. So I just throw in some of this down here. And see? Little bubbles, little lines. Where's that? All right. So I've got it set up that I'm standing at the old Descaroni here today. It's a long way down. And I'm going to be using the fan a little bit in order to, hey, it's orange. In order to expedite our process here. But, so the idea is this. All right, I'm going to lay this down like I'm going to lay down a traditional comic page. And because of that, it should have that same kind of fun, connective energy. Now I can still go into the photo of Shopee and change some things around. If I put a panel down, I'm like, I want to flip that. Then I can do that there. But this, we're just going to do like a more traditional flat page, right? Which sort of ties me into having to have that purposeful, planned page, which I know to some extent might seem anathema to how I work, but we'll get there. We'll get there together. All right, so get some of this schmutz off my brush. I think that this one's going to be largely pointless, but we'll put him here anyways, just so he's not left out. Feels lonely. Today's music of choice is the Cars. Vroom, vroom. Now, I have a habit of tapping my foot a lot, and I've been trying to break that habit. It's going to happen today because I'm standing, and I tend to, I'm a wiggle monster. So, brace yourself. Okay, so, like I said, I've got the fan to expedite this. So I'm going to be using the fan intermittently throughout the stream. I'm sorry, but we'll get through it. All right. Where did I put my paper towel? Oh, I put it behind me. All right. So, today's suggestion is, what did I say it was? Like an orange, like a fake tan in a bottle. A productive day so far, by the way. I've got 3 pages done, which I'm really happy about, right? As far as it goes for that formatting. I'm pretty much ready at this point. I just have to figure out where to put it, but I'm pretty much ready to have enough of a, I'm going to set up a webtoon so that every couple of days people can see a next page of I've got 2 books that I'm doing this way. So I got a bunch of pages formatted this morning and got today's page out, did a bunch of voice recordings for somebody and sent them to him in his email. And here we go. We're doing some painting to celebrate 100 followers on YouTube. I know that's not exciting for some people, but it is for me. Boy, using that fan sure does suck. Excellent. I sent you something in the mail, Jim. Here, check your email. That's awesome news. I'm going to put that on the screen for anybody that jumps in today. Jim will be doing a show Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Jim Luan, tune in. I'm going to tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. Check your email, Jim. Okay. So this is just a gel medium that I've used to put these pieces of paper down on the surface. Why did you do that, Chris? No idea. bit here, a little bit there. I have my fan set to hot. Also, I'm listening to the cars, which is hot. Okay, so the suggestion for today is orange, like a fake tan in a bottle. Now, I have no idea what that suggestion means. I just don't. But what I do have an idea about is the fact that I'm going to have some fun with it. Right? Right. Okay? Okay. I will do so, sir. I shall do my bestest. All right. So, I'm going to play and do some silly things. But just for scuzz, just curious kins. I don't know how other people go about. Everybody has a specific. This is the way I like to work. I don't so much. Keep a close eye on that Gary Hodges. That's fantastic. Just, if Gary says hi, I'm going to stick my eye right in the camera. So everybody has their own approach as to how they work, how they paint, how they draw, how they do whatever. Mine is just as randomly abstract as it is for when I'm doing comic pages traditionally. Okay, so the suggestion today is orange, like, what is it? A fake tan in a bottle. I have to check back on that. I have to try that. Clearly, I'm not concerned about muscle. All right, so I have some thoughts about how to come at this. I thought first I would roughly lay in some sort of character interaction here. And the only thing that I'm doing really differently about this is that, there we go, that's a little better, is that I'm laying it out in paint, which is a bit random. But so one of the fun things I like doing, as you can see here, is because I put whatever down on the surface. Where did I just put that? Immediately lose the paint marker that was in my hand. So I've got a little white paint in here, so that while I'm going at it, so as I'm putting like a face here, and I've got this different color raised paper in the surface, and I already threw this little bit of paint down for just throwing a pink down in the area. It doesn't necessarily mean anything per se, but I recognize that this is a kind of a random way to go about it, but it's fun. It's just playing. Every day it's got to be, you just got to come at something in whatever way, shape, or form you can, and that you find fun and comfortable. But I realize that this is a bit of a random thing to do. I know that doesn't really look like much there, but it will. Sometimes I like that paper coming through, right? Like I like these different things I adhere to the surface to come out, to come out in a little white over that. I like those little colors and values to leak through. It's a bit of a random thing. I recognize that, but so am I. So paint pens, paint markers. This is what I've got. Some of these today. I got some traditional acrylic via the tube, and we're going to play. We're going to have a little bit of fun. So the way that what color are you supposed to be? Okay. So the way that I like to work with the marker that I did for today's page, or just my weird kind of a layering thing, is a sort of standard. Here we go. Sort of a standard approach that I have to stuff, and it's just putting down bit at a time, building it up, not getting too overly concerned, too overly worked up about how I'm going about doing it. Now, for years, this is me really trying to use paint markers for the first time, so I'm going to just go a little bonkers with experimenting and having some fun, just to see what I can get out of it. So I'm already changing my mind from the initial layout here. We'll see how long the standing up thing will last, because it's a long way down for me. It's a little ridiculous. My wife uses a standing sitting desk where she can adjust it. And yeah, no, that's not necessarily been something that has crossed my mind. Okay, so we're starting to get some of that underlying structure in there that I wanted. So I'm just having fun at this point. Everybody's got their different. Yeah, I'm sitting down already. Everybody's got their different processes for it, and I thought maybe standing would be easier today, but no, it's not. So give me a second. Do you really need to see my face? Okay, that's enough. Hi. Okay, so honestly, with the paint pens, I know that a lot of people use them as these really opaque lines that move around the surface. I have not figured that value out yet, so. But we're just going to see what we can get out of this sucker. Where we are. There we are. So what I might do is leave the edges of the kit panels rough, and then do all that in post, like do that in the Photoshop. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that comes about, because I'm not too worked up about that. I'll figure it out. For the most part, I'm just sort of playing today. That's the whole point. Is that this is a weird notion today, and I just want to explore it. And so, the principal thing I wanted to chat about today is 100 people are following the YouTube channel now. And I really appreciate that. That's super keen. You know, that's one of those things where, really? Yeah, cool. It's when I started doing Everybody Wants to Listen to my podcast, part of the joke of that was the fact that 20 people were following me on YouTube at all. So the idea of everybody in the first place was a little bit ridiculous. So it's fun. It's a fun direction we're going here. I hope everybody's having fun. I hope that we're doing some things that are interesting for folks and that they're getting stuff out of. I know that working in 800 different directions of media isn't necessarily something that gets me lots of people that just like a specific thing, but it's about having fun, and it's about taking whatever suggestions are thrown at me and going with them. And at the end of the day, having fun is more important to me than the rest of it. So how's that coming through there? Okay, so it's starting to pick up on the image anyways. All right, so I'm using possibly the worst brush you've ever seen to do this. I just grabbed a brush and now I realize that's a terrible brush. All right, so I've got a really limited palette that I'm starting with here, but I'm okay with that. That's good stuff. Limited palettes are good because they force you to make hard decisions. Keep it tight like a tiger. We've had a long one today. My poor wife, she's been at the office since 8:30, and we had to drive our one son into his new job, which is super exciting and cool. So we've been up since 5. Well, I've been up since 5. Okay. All right. So there's the basic gist of our principal character. The idea being that she's going to be interrogated, or she's giving some kind of testimony. So tell us again from the top. I like to try to fit titling into narrative more and more. And I referred previously to Will Eisner would always do that. He had a real penchant for that. And, I really respect that. So it's something that I try to incorporate on some level. But it's going to say, tell us once again from the top, and then the title text will be here. It'll say orange, like a thick tan in a bottle. Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this, Sally. I used to do painting all the time, and I used to do large works, and you could see a little bit of the doodah behind me on the wall. Normally when I'm doing stuff in the studio here, but it's something I've largely got away from for the smaller works. And for a while it was just something that I didn't have a readily available ability to sit down and to sit there and do these large works. I didn't have space for it. And once I pulled the studio out of downtown and started working from home again, you just don't have space with the kids. So now I've got more space, and I just haven't really sat down too much to do it some more. I've got a bunch of materials. It's, got the supplies, got the paints, got some brushes. So we're going to have a little more fun. So I'm roughing around the shapes of panels in here. And so I'm basically trying to structure this board, this surface, as though it were a comic page, just to see how that goes. Always trying new things. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how. I think you gotta try something outside of the norm every now and then. You gotta go outside your safety, your comfort area. Get a little weird with it, man. Because who knows what you'll discover. I mean, you might discover that, hey, I really kind of prefer working this way. I'm going to try a little more of that. Or you might say, yep, I tried it. I hated it. I hated that. So much. Flames. Yep. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about some of these weird random things that I do, like putting this paper in under the surface, of the image as I'm putting it down, because you start getting these fun little things that are happening in the work, because you're starting to see stuff like this orange coming through, or this craft paper coming through, and as though it was an applied value, which it's not, right? It's just some of the Post-it that I had here. And but what that affords me is some interesting value combinations, some interesting things that are happening in the surface. So it's not about as chaotic as my way of working, I realize looks a lot of the time. It really is about testing out different things and trying different approaches to mark making and storytelling. And every part of me is all about finding a new way to go about it. So that's my Jim Jam. Because at the end of the day, whatever it is that you're doing, you got to have some enthusiasm for it. You got to have some, I'm going to try this. And then over time, you're going to find out that you're going to pick up on X, but you're not going to pick up on Y. You're going to come across some things that you think, hey, there is definitely something to that, and I want to pursue that a little bit more. Or I found that just muddied the waters. That's particular thing that I was doing in that previous project just didn't work, and it just turned it into more work, or that's a flavor I don't want to savor, whatever it is. But you're never going to find those happy accidents. Thank you, Bob Ross. Unless you give it a shot. So yeah. So I don't know how well the orange is picking up here in the camera, so there might be some glare, but the orange is still bleeding through this umber application in the outfit. And so I'm going to come in here now and just mess with the outsides of the panel a little bit. Some weird textures in there. having fun. So I'm curious about, I know that sometimes when people see me doing my weird mixed media approaches and stuff, or the putting tape down or Post-its or whatever else, I do get some questions. You got questions, feel free to ask them. I might have answers. They might come to you in the form of interpretive dance. I'm just setting that in front. Okay, just going to start there. Not everybody answers people in interpretive dance, but this guy does sometimes. Okay, so I've diffused the orange. I took it back a little bit, pushed it back into the background a little bit. We'll come at this again in a minute. Now, the paint markers, I'm going to try to play with this a little bit and see what we can pull out of that. So, yeah, so we've got the start of our principal character coming together here in the first panel. So let's just Chris got quiet. Oh boy, what does that mean? Thinking about those little planes in the face, right? And with just a little bit more shaping of that, a little more detail. Getting some of those shadows, those little bits and bobs. I don't know about your chin, but with my chin, there's these different little plateaus on my neck, and you'll see how the shadows separate. I'm trying to figure out how can I explain this easiest. You see these little applied lines in those areas. Just pursuing those a little bit. So there's this fun thing that happens here because of the application of the surface. I don't know if you can pick up on the folds that are actually on the surface in the neck. And along, so you'll see one here, you'll see some there. I like those. That's the sort of fun in the sun that I'm talking about. Yeah, this pink paint that I'm testing out here. It's my first test of this stuff, and it's junk. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to need to do to this to make it work better, but I'm going to have to add something to it. But we'll get it to do what we want it to do. We'll get it. We'll wrestle it. Well, I'm excited about Jim going to do a show on the weekend. That's very exciting to me. Really looking forward to that. If you haven't had a chance to check out Jim Luhan's animation work, people, please do so. His name is in the live chat here, JIM Lujan. Please check out his work. It's fantastic. All right, so let's get on to the next image. Can't just keep working on the one. We'll come back. We'll put a couple little bumps in here along the way, but in the interim, we got to keep rolling. So my thoughts here are to have this as a sort of questioning period so to tell us about the man. Oh, he was terrible, Your Honor, a terrible officer, whatever it is, right? So I want to establish a couple of identifiable little bits of fun. So I thought let's get into the character of our principal character. Let's get into their character, if you know what I mean. So one of the things I want to do is focus on some of the different parts of our character. And so when somebody's talking and they're nervous and there's apprehension, they'll do things with their hands, and we're going to chase that down right now. So as she's saying this, what she's saying as she's starting to describe the situation, I've left space up above for the text, but right here down below, I want to put together so I'm just lightly with the brush, roughing in the composition for her hands as she's got them folded up in front of her. And as she's describing the thing that happened and the awkwardness of that. And so hopefully what that's going to do for the viewer is if the right person sees it, they can associate that moment. They can associate, hopefully, that feeling. And if you catch one of them, you got yourself an audience. So that's basically what I'm trying to frame together here, is to take our viewer inside of where her feelings are, inside of her apprehension, is inside of her emotions as she's describing the situation in the page. Now, is this with a title like Orange, like a fake tan in a bottle? So the other flip of the coin here with me today is that is such a strange and kind of contrived sentence that why don't I try to represent the imagery in a real classical sense, hence, painting like so, but at the same time, all the dialogue is going to be very modern, very ridiculous. And so we're going to have some fun. And let's get these interlaced hands in here. Get that knuckle up there. So, getting the gist of it down there. And then it'll be about filling that out, with the rest of the paint as we go here. I'm keeping, as I usually do at the start of any given project, to a fairly limited palette. Now, that's not to say that I can't add more to it as I go, but so this brown of this craft paper, it's what's kind of nice here is that this brown just sort of sits right in with the umber value that I'm putting down for the majority of the panel. So these little modulations in the surface, well, they have no real rhyme or reason for how I allocate them when I'm doing the preparation of the surface before I start working. They do afford fun things like that, right? Let's get a little more, work at this with a little more dry brush so we can darken that area up. And again, when I put these down on the surface, there's no real plan for me of how they work with the specific imagery that I put down. So sometimes, it's this sort of fun little misdirections within the composition. Largely, I go about things in little peculiar ways to amuse myself. If anybody ever wanted to use get copies of my fingerprints for breaking into the basement of our house to steal away our exotic treasure, you just take a look at any of my pictures. There's probably lots of fingerprints and thumbprints and bits and bobs. All right, so I'm going to let that dry for a second. So my initial intent had been working with these paint markers, but I realized that to me they're more like little enhancements. Maybe I just haven't got it yet. Uh-oh, what's just happened there? I think discontinued for a second there. Just like fun textures and things. It's fun to me. I don't know. What do we got here? Missing stuff, am I? Oh no, that's Jim. It's Jim. Hey, Paul Pate. How you doing, Paul? Welcome aboard, sir. I'm painting a comic page today. All right, so throw on this really translucent pink in here. See what I mean by this paint is pretty much pointless. Paul Pate says, I tried to paint 2 8x10 canvases a couple of weeks ago. Disaster. I can't live without the undo button. Frank Salazar. Hey, frankly, watching a Canadian lawyer react to a video. Oh, man, I understand that completely. You start to get into this, you start habit forming, right? And if you spend too much time working in the digital, then there's definitely a part of you that thinks in those terms. And so there's just sort of immediate association of, oh, I did that wrong. What do I do? It's a completely understandable thing. I think one of the reasons that people tend to choose one over the other when it comes to either working digital or traditional is that because of the habit forming aspect of undo buttons and the like, and equally the frustration of how do I blend things the way, or how do I use color the way that I use color with traditional approaches, right? Frank says, oh my goodness, I understand that too. I've tried to zoom in on paper. Doesn't work for Canvas board either. No, nothing. What's funny is that the differences between how different systems work, if you're used to Apple products, when you try to work with an Android or a Samsung Android type product, there's great confusing differences in that too. And you wouldn't really think so. I mean, they're both just digital applications. So what could be so bad? You're really being discreet. There we go. Anyhow, it's funny the things that you forget. Yeah. It's tricky. It's tricky, you know, working from one medium to another. Get some other brush someplace. There you are. I've been foolish with the choices that I made at the start here. I'm using an inexpensive paint just because I wanted to test it out. Now I'm finding it's just annoying me. But these are we learn. We live and we learn. That's all right. We'll build it up. Starting to find the form in there. Frank, if you watched the start of the video today, I introduced you to something else in Canadiana history. I think you'll enjoy it. It's another rabbit hole for you to fall down, Frank. All right, so leave that for a second there. I tend to work on top, and sometimes I work too fast for it to dry. Paul says, I have Apple stuff for home. Been using PCs for work forever. I enjoy the variety. I do not have, the only tablet I have is a little Kindle. I bought it for my wife, but it's too heavy for her to hold while she's reading books at night. So we were trying to set up a digital reading device for her, and it was just too heavy. So now it sits in the old studio. It's tricky to rock a rhyme right on time. It's tricky. Oh, for heaven's sakes. I want to try to paint again soon. Also having a hard time deciding what to paint. How about don't decide too much? How about don't think about it too much? Just go for it. Just start throwing paint. Just start by painting one of your characters for your book. Really appreciate the Run DMC reference, Frank. Yeah, see, I gotta let that dry for a moment more. Let's come in here. Give her a couple of belts of not sure how well that picks up in the camera or not, but I think that you're wild. There we go. Sometimes it just takes a couple of little layers, couple little bits, couple little buildups of surface. So contemplating participating in a live paint event. I've done a number of those. I really have enjoyed in the past being invited to do those. I quite like them, and clearly I don't have too much reservation about people being around me while I'm working. I know some people do. So we're just building up these bits in her cheek. There we go. All right. Yeah, I think you should do it, Paul. I think that that may be some fun in the sun. There's lots to be said for getting out to events like that, engaging with other creators. It's funny, at these events, I've watched people do things. I went, what in the world? Why didn't I think of that? you know, and I saw an artist using a stencil, and he actually was spraying paint through the stencil onto the surface of the board, and I thought, or the canvas, I'm sorry. I thought that was novel. I saw Reverend run at the airport in Grand Rapids a few years ago. No idea why he's here, but I'm glad he was. Cool. That's super cool. Thinking of doing a drawing of my wife and I have tickets to go see a comedian in June or July, and I'm thinking of doing a drawing for him. I really appreciate what he does. I think he's quite funny. Makes us all laugh, and that's a novel thing to get a whole family. I'm just overworking that. Okay. All right, so we've got our initial image where we've got our principal character being introduced, being asked the question of, can you tell us, can you describe it again, or to describe the person again? And then, of course, the title text sits in here of orange, like a fake tan in a bottle. Tell us what happened, ma'am. So then as she's talking about what's happening, we're focusing on her hands. It was kind of a random page today, and yet I've had some people expressing interest in it, and people that I don't normally hear from. So that's kind of interesting, because I thought this is a little different, but maybe the subject matter connects to a lot of people. I'm not sure, but I appreciate the response to that. That's great. I'm trying to think of something fun to do, because there's 100 people on my YouTube now, subscribed, or whatever that's called. Is there something fun that I can do to say thank you? So, because, well, just people can request a thing. Well, I already do One Page Comics, right? So there's that kind of process is already engaged. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. I haven't really any clear ideas about what to, how I can give that back a little bit. Stand this guy over a little bit. All right. If anybody has ideas. Yeah, Chris, how about you give me all your drawings? Who said that? Paul says, maybe I'll start my painting with tape like you do. This is actually bits of paper today. This is bits of paper in here. That's a Post-it. Yeah, not enough contrast. But I got some green on here with the white now, so I'm going to throw in a couple more values into our character here. I love painting different kinds of people. I love painting and drawing different. I don't want everybody to look the same. One of the things we were talking about recently in a stream is the similarity patterns that a lot of illustrators get into, where all their characters start to have this. Oh, it's great. You can do a turnaround of your character and it looks like your character all the way around. But then the flip side of that is, well, all your characters start looking the same. And I want to stay away from that. And at the same time, celebrate the beautiful diversity of humanity. Not in this sort of tokenistic way that's in the media, but you know what I mean. Paint everybody, draw everybody. Do a show where you do shots and we get to watch you get wasted. I don't drink. That's hard to do. I appreciate the offer, though. Who's buying? There's a shot. It's a shot for you, Paul. Happy birthday. Yeah. There you go. Merry Christmas. Oh, it is happy birthday. That Frosty says, isn't it? Putting some of these little cut lines here, values throughout the hands. Hopefully that's picking up. I don't drink because I'm really good at drinking. I'm from a long line of really good at drinking. And I made a decision for that line stopping here for my kids. So the book stops here. Made a mess. All right. I'll have my fill of this paint here. This certain kind of paint. All right. Yeah, so I've got some of these paint pens or paint markers, like so. And I'm just going to play with this for a little bit. We're almost an hour in. This is going. I'm pretty happy with how this is going. So I'm going to do things that you're going to go, he ruined it. He wrecked it. Not good. Click. You blew it. I know for a fact that I'm just throwing whatever at the wall and seeing what sticks. I know for a fact I'm going to do something that somebody's going to like and go, what's the matter with you? What'd you do that for? So we'll get through it. So here's a fun trick. If you hold your finger, if you put your finger along the guiding edge of a board, okay, and then you hold the mark making tool, pencil, pen, paint marker, rigid in your hand, you can make a consistent line. Now, fun in the sun. All right. So another thing I wanted to try was, oh, what the hell are you? Let's try you out in some spots, see what this does. The hell are you? Ah, there we go. That's fine. Okay. Well, I'm done with this bad tube of paint. I'll just play with that a little bit. You get the tips of these get dirty pretty pretty quickly. That's fun. Fun in the sun. I'm going to use the dryer for a second again. Sorry for the noise. There's a strong wind coming in from the east, Bill. Back to you in the studio. Probably wasn't much. If anybody that's tuned in today has an opportunity, go and check out Paul Pate's posts. Paul Pate's post 5 times. Go. Check out what Paul is posting on Instagram. He's every time he finishes a panel of his new book he's working on, he sticks it up there, and you get to read through the story as he's going. And I got to tell you, I'm enjoying it. So this is another piece of paper embedded in here, which is why you get this little, let me pull it up. You'll see this little raised surface in the image. And that stays through, even as, like, just the same as the ones that are in her face, in her neck. You see the little crinkle across her neck. There's a crinkle in there. That's the stuff I love. I'm random, I realize, but I just love that. It's a couple things, a couple reasons why. One is it forces me, it challenges me to incorporate that. You're dead. You know, I like that. I like that a lot. I like the additional difficulties of having to work your surface. Paul says it's going to get real ugly soon for his story. Things are going to get real ugly. Yeah, I think I'm just trying to overwork an area. All right. That's fun. Sorry. Beautiful paintings. I'm not sure where that was in if it's that. Thanks. Speaking of real ugly, sent out some mirrors today. Mirrors? There was so I went to a local camp in the London area here when I was a kid, and there would be sponsors to support low-income families. It's the only way I ever got to go to camp. But it was called Campo Orlando, my poor wife has we've driven by it numerous times. Words are hard. And it's a gravel pit now, just so depressing. But there was a random box on a post in the middle of a field. And looking back on this now, it's so absurd. But at the time, this is high comedy when you're a kid. You'd say, take a look, they got a monkey here. It's so cool. And kids would go, in this big field, by the way, it's probably 30 feet of grass. And, hey, Paul, I'd love to do that. Yeah, we could do one on a weekend. I just got to figure out some time. Trying to come up with a nice, fun idea of something to do with my wife this weekend. Because we've had busy days lately. But, yeah, we could try to figure out something. I'd love that. That goes for anybody that, wants a visit from this old maniac. Let me know. I could try to schedule that to fit your broadcast schedule. Talk about the secrets of the universe. Bacon. Just list all the food I can't eat. What do we got? Okay, so yeah, I'd love that poll on the show. That would be fantastic. We'll have to figure that out for sure. I need to come on and discuss Canadian pop culture. Oh, Lord. Do you know who the Payolas are? Don't Google search it. Do you know who the Payolas are? You want to talk about maple syrup? I don't know how exciting that is. I'm a type 1 diabetic. Frank, I can't actually have maple syrup. What's your favorite maple syrup? Uh-oh, we got to keep an eye on this guy. Afternoon, Gary. Okay. Boy, I'm concentrating if I shut up for a minute. The only thing I know about Canada is red, green. Well, they can't find you informative. At least they find you handy. Hey, Malcolm's here as well. How you doing, Malcolm? Maple syrup has a mafia. Keep an eye on that guy. He was here. He stopped in for a second. He's told us to keep an eye on you. What's going on? I just watched this film last night called The Hunt. It's about two guys that are investigating each other and seeing which one of them is a spy. Plot twist. It's me. Plot twist. Okay, so, and the progression of this story. I'm just gonna step away from these panels at this point and go on to the next one because I got lots of work up to do on that, but we've got our baseline here. So on this board that I've got, on to our next panel. There's a mark making tool that I put somewhere else. I'll find it. So I want to get these different pieces of this person's testimony about our ridiculous concept of her describing somebody for a police request for somebody that they're looking for, and her description of them is orange, like a fake tan in a bottle. So that's where we're going with that. Let's play with this a little bit. Now, I probably use these wrong, but maybe if I shake it more. Frank says Helen Hunt was his favorite actress. I sent some more audio files to Jim today. I don't know if Jim is sharing those things with anybody, but they are silly. But I had a little bit of fun in what I sent him, because I did a couple of different little things with it. But the way that I labeled the files that I sent him is absurd. So hopefully he's going to have fun with that. Yeah, this is altogether pointless. But I'm really excited to have been asked by Jim to be a part of his project. So thank you to everybody, by the way, that's been telling friends and so on about the YouTube thing here. We've just hit 100. We just hit 100 today. So that's a lot of fun. I know it's 100. I know that. I've got this one. Well, I just got 100. And at the start of every One Wants to Listen on my podcast, part of the funny of it was I had 20 followers. So that everyone was a very limited group. And now it doesn't feel so silly. So maybe I'm going to have to change the name of the show. A couple people want to listen to this here podcast. All right. What am I missing? I'm so sorry, everybody. Paul Pate says the Royal Canadian Mounted Police learnt of them through Ren and Stimpy. Are you talking about the comedy troupe? And they're pretty good. There's a lot of Canadian comedy troupes over the years that we've had. SCTV. It's Second City had a television show in Canada here. They framed the entire thing as an actual small town television station, and it's broadcast day. And so the Sunrise Semester is one of the earliest skits that they would do, and then they give you the morning news and the nightly news, and through the course of it, and the late night movie is just so much fun. As a kid, I didn't even realize that structure was in there. I didn't notice that until I was probably a teenager. But a lot of comedians came out of that: Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, John Candy, Harold Ramis. Yeah. Joe Flaherty is actually American. I didn't know that. I thought he was through and through Canadian. Originally, Joe Flaherty was comedy partners with Bill Murray's big brother, which is kind of fun. All right. So the intention here, of course, is tell us what you know. She starts to disclose a description of the guy. And then we focus in on the awkwardness that she's feeling, and she's given a description of these events. Woohoo! So I want to focus on her hands and the emotional impact of that. And next up is the flip of the camera. So we're going to see the guy that's talking to her. So I'm having some fun. I've got, this is from a little black and white drawing. And, you know, I'm just flipping through here and finding random faces and painting those. So that one that I just did is from Catherine the Great or something. Yeah. So you got to have fun. I don't know. There's one of the artists that affected me greatly when I was young was Terry Gilliam. Terry Gilliam started his career not as the director, producer of his fine films. I really like Terry Gilliam's style of filmmaking, but he started as the animator for Monty Python. He was the 6th member. And, you know, so the funniest joke that he was involved in had to be when there was a bit where in the which one is it? It's the Holy Grail, where all the knights are being chased by this killer rabbit, and it would have destroyed them too if the animator hadn't had a stroke. And it shows Terry Gilliam fall out of his chair. That to me is one of the most funny jokes in film. There was just something about that that just had me drop to the floor. Okay, so I'm going to cut in from the opposite panel, the opposite look for her, which is the camera's going to cut back to the guys that are interviewing. So the way that I'm going to do this is we're going to have her in the foreground in the shot. And we'll see the back of her head. And then, of course, we're going to move forward in the frame, or we're going to look forward into the frame to see the detectives questioning her. The intention is then to paint her dialogue one more time and their responsiveness one more time. And then, Terry Gilliam was the lone American in the group. Yes, that's true. Sorry, that is absolutely true. Just fantastic animator. And there are videos online if you want to know how Terry Gilliam animated his films. And interestingly enough, it's just collage work that he would photocopy and blow up in the photocopier and cut those out and put them under sheets of glass and shoot that. And so all the animatics that you see and all the animations that you see in the Monty Python television show and in their films was done in such a basic way. A celebrity death that really affected me was a Mexican comedic actor named Chespirito. Am I saying that correctly? Why was he lonely? Why was who lonely? Oh, the lone. Now I get it. Good hell. I just walk right into Frank's humor. Every single time I just walk right into it. You know, like Fictan in a bottle. He must have been lonely in America. That's why he went to England to be in. They'd done some shows, but they brought him in because he'd been doing some commercial work, and they liked it. They liked his sensibility. So he sort of made everything up on the fly. But he's also Patsy, the guy with the coconuts, in Life of Brian, or no, Holy Grail. Holy Grail. He's the guy running behind Graham Chapman. So, just a fine animator, fine director, just very talented all around, this fella. So like I say, when I put these pieces of paper down, when I do these little different things on the surfaces, they really don't make any difference to the image that I lay down over top. When I'm first putting the image down, I'm putting it flat over top of this, and I'm not overly worried about it. What's underneath, because I'm going to do all kinds of nonsense to it in the first place. That's a great song by Jim Knitting, isn't it, Frank? If I could keep 10 in a bottle. Yeah, Jim Knitting sang that. Tell us about Chespirito, Frank. I'm sorry, Frankly. It's Frank's new Canadian name. Frankly Mapleton. So I'm just putting down some cut shapes into the face here. I'm going to get just sort of the expression in the eyes, like with the raised eyebrow there. And then we're going to build up all kinds of the value in the same way as we did this one here. Did you get my Jim knitting joke, Frank? Anybody get my Jim knitting joke? No? Let me help you out. Jim Crochet. I know it's not crochet. I know it's crochet, but that's what the base of that joke was. Pretty dumb. I'm a silly guy. So I always try to have hands up with characters, even if it's just in a bunched position or sort of this, even if it's just this kind of thing, because people talk with their hands. And if I can get some of that in an image, it sort of helps me to just get something a little expressive going in there. So 1/3 of the panel is what I have this weird kind of set rule for myself of when I'm back of the head shots. 1/3 of the panel is the highest I go up. If you have the head going across the center of the panel, it's boring. I will say this much. One of the voice recordings that I sent to Jim, I labeled C. Glover. Does anybody know who C. Glover is? And if you do, I get to do this. Chespirito had a comedy sketch show. Some of the skits became their own shows. He did Shakespeare, and his nickname was a reference to that, Little Shakespeare. Oh, okay, cool. I can't say that I've ever heard of Chespirito. But again, I'm not overly familiar with there's all kinds of things that I'm sure that you've got in American broadcasts, and you got it. You got it, Malcolm. I don't know what's making that sound. Little Mexi kids? I don't know when you're talking about Mexicans, frankly. You're Canadian now. Them's the rules. We've decided. Malcolm says, Crispin is a weird dude, even by my standards. I tend to look at Crispin Glover in film trailers as soon as he shows up, I'm like, what character are they going to try to pretend that Crispin Glover is acting as, which is himself today? There's a character that wears a bee costume. Is that who it's based on? Is based on Chespirito? That's fun. I've been using this silly microwave tray for I don't know how long as my paint tray. And it's funny when you use something for so long and you sort of forget its origin, right? All right, so the idea here, sorry, I didn't realize how out of frame I was there. So the idea here is that we're in the interrogation room, and there's the shape of the head of our lady speaking, and I'll try to emulate her hair as I go through. And then this is the two detectives that are going to be standing here talking to her. So a bumbling superhero that always wins. Chapulín, Colorado, played by Chespirito. Bumbling superhero always wins in the end. Isn't that fun? Story of my life, man. Story of my life. So there's our roughing in of the two detectives. Why don't I just go through at this point and just rough in the rest of this. So the idea here is that the next panel is going to be here. And then followed by, so it'll be him talking, and then followed by a zoom in on her expression here, given the old eyes. And and then the final image that's going to be here is a shot that's going to be half covered over. Another character is El Chavo del Loco. He is an orphan kid that hangs out with the other kids. The gag is that all the kids are played by adults. That sort of takes it back to what Paul referenced earlier, the Royal Canadian Air Farce is a comedy troupe that we had in Canada. And these comedians are all, and even while they're in their 30s and 40s, they're all pretending to be children in certain sketches. And yeah, just fantastic, silly stuff. So this panel here is actually going to be covered up by this image that I want to structure next, and that is what the guy looks like. That is who she's describing. Of course, the face is going to have a lot of orange in it, and then that sort of fun. But he's going to be. She's gonna. The point of this is that I'm going to have the character described in the most ridiculous and contrived way, and then when I reveal the character at the end, he's still not going to look anything like the description, because to me that's funny. But yeah, I like trying different approaches. I like trying different directions with each page, and so the choice to paint today's. There's things that I plan on doing and little punches after the fact. Like I do like to do outline to characters. So I'm going to be using some of these paint pens for that. And I do like putting a lot more punchy contrasts in the values of skin tone and things like that. So I'm going to push that a little more. But and then the story in and of itself, though, I'm one of the things that I'm trying to make sure I do is that I leave X amount of space. So these red boxes aren't necessarily I'm trying to make it look like I'm painting it as a proper page. But the reality is, of course, that those panels need to make sure that the text is the first and foremost, because I don't care what method I'm using, and I don't care what my approach is compositionally for the most part to a page, other than to make sure that it has the ability to tell the story, which means we have to make sure that there's room for text. So the more verbose that the character is going to be, I need to afford myself more space up above and around these characters here, like in this area, right? In order to put some text in there. But that's the basic gist of this page, is that I'm taking that suggestion that I've been given, and I'm going to make it into a police witness, somebody testifying as a witness to the police, to somebody that they give an absolutely ludicrous description for. And then the final bit is, and I have to decide this, and this will be the sort of joy of in that moment. And I like to leave myself little bits like that, where I get to decide, am I going to make the character that the witness is describing, am I going to make this person actually look like who she's described, or am I going to make them look like something completely different? You know, could it be this guy? No. You know, just leave it at that. No. Because they'll turns like that, largely to amuse myself, really, largely to have fun in my own little way with just playing with a moment. But I don't know, maybe that's interesting to other people. Maybe other people will come across that and go, okay, yeah, I like that. That's good. So this is the problem with doing a painted page, is that there's so much buildup. There's so much rough under the painting really surface work that it's hard to sit down unless you're taking a real block of time and saying, okay, well, we're going to do the whole page. So like I say, this is going to be the close-up shot on our detective interviewing her. So there'll be focus on his face here as he says, well, it's this, isn't it? And then we've got, and so my intention is, and I like doing this a lot, okay, is that as I have him here talking, and I've got that image moving across, so that his head, because this is where the extent of his head is, this gives me the affordance to push the boundaries of this panel, right? If this is him, there's nothing to say that I can't go ahead and play a little bit with outside that panel because of the size of his face. And so as I have this tighter shot on this character here, and then I can have his partner character lean in at this point with the more probing question of their own. Because the whole thing about this page is it's all about the editorial pacing. That you really have to be tight paced on this because you have the limited amount of space of a single page. So I'm really not, I don't have an awful lot of opportunity for all kinds of back and forth shots, back and forth, back and forth. But there's the structure of it. And it's just a case now of putting it all down. But leaving this space between the two panels is something that I enjoy doing. I think stuff like that is fun because what it does is it continues this rhythmic movement of the page, but at the same time, it oops, I'm sorry, he's in front of this one. At the same time, it allows the individuality for each panel, for each character. And so then the final thing, of course, is her responsive movement. And I think that it might be fun, even though this person's in the panel, to have them go, "Ugh," as this character described this right here. It's a similar sort of layout to what I just did a few days ago with the, what was that page called? Wishes Were Horses is a similar kind of a layout to Wishes Were Horses in the sense that there's free-floating character and movement in and out of panels. And I just want to explore that just a little bit more. So that'll be what I'll be doing with this page. But I'm at an hour 30, so I'm just going to finish a couple more things for roughing this out. And then I will be back tomorrow. I'll be back when the day is new, and I'll have more ideas for you. You'll have things to want to talk about. I will too. Do-do-do-do-do-do. So there's the rough shape of her head, you know, and then of course her hand up. Oh, right. So they'll read that. And I just think little interconnectedness of the character here, you know, pushing into this person's panel and making them feel uncomfortable and awkward. That to me is funny. I like the idea of breaking and pushing and in and out of the confines of the border that we find in comics, right? So any little thing I can do to play with that, I'm going to do. Hey, thanks, Paul. That's very nice of you. Like I said, Paul, and for anybody else, if yeah, I'm having fun. I do the same Monday to Friday, 2:00. I'm going to try to sort out a weekend thing here. We'll see when and how I can do that, because you know, weekends are generally pretty busy. But if there's anything I can ever do or engage with anybody on, if you want to draw together on your YouTube or anything like that as well, let me know. I think stuff like that sounds like fun. But I think for now I'm going to sign off. I've had a wishy-washy day with my blood sugar, so I think I'm going to sign off. But this has been a lot of fun. It's a very different approach, painting on this board. So yeah, I think that when I'm done this, of course, I got to do the same standard thing of scanning it and putting it into the computer and then transferring that over to into Photoshop so that I can do some of the text on that. So yeah, I'm going to get on to that. Thanks everybody for hanging out. I really appreciate that. Oh, that's good. Thank you. See you next time. See you next time, Gary. See you next time, Paul. Thank you. And yeah, if anybody has any questions or any thoughts or any one-page suggestion ideas they want to throw my way, you know how to do it. Other than that, thank you, everybody, all the new people following me. And 100 people, I never imagined I'd get to 100, honestly. And so that's really cool. That's very cool. I'm going to keep going. I am now at officially, this is the 53rd page for the one page, but I'm actually done 69. I've got 69 put together now. So some of those aren't one pages, though, is the challenge. Is that one is a 6-page, one is a 3-page, or one, I'm sorry, is a 4-page. So I think what I'm at this point doing is that I'm putting together a new short story release book, which is a book that I've put 4 issues out of. And that's what it is. It's short stories, as well as the 1-page Comic Extravaganza Volume 2. So I'm going to keep at this because I'm feeling pretty good about the stuff that I'm doing. But again, the offer's out there if anybody wants to get involved in sitting down with me and looking through these pages and seeing if there's stuff that you think I need to retool a little bit more, and stuff that you would think they should be the first ones in order for assembling this next book. In the meantime, I'm going to get back to it, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 2, hopefully. And I look forward to seeing what you're doing. So everybody keep on creating, keep on doing what you do, and like to see what it is. Thanks very much, gang. Bye for now.